Welcome back to the Nikki Clarke Show. The show is about conversations that matter. And I'm so excited to have people from all walks of life to come and share their heart stories. And I'm really excited about this newly published children's book. It's called The Swarm That Swarmed, and we have the amazing author Fernanda Lazzaro here on the show. Welcome, Fernanda.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
It's great to have you. Wow, this is beautiful.
Thank you. Yes.
So this is my copy.
Yes, that's your copy.
And it is signed. Wonderful.
Yeah.
All right. Great. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, that's actually the first book. So that was published last year, but the second book will be coming out in December, so just before Christmas.
Okay, so just in a few weeks.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your background as an author. How did that happen?
Well, I've written for a very long time. So even as a teenager, I would write. I just enjoyed writing, never published anything. And then when I started university, I actually wrote for my school paper at York University.
Okay.
A couple of articles here and there. So I enjoyed news writing, but I had the creative bug. So, news writing, you study journalism, is different from creative writing in a way. And so I did enjoy it. And I actually went on to study broadcast journalism. And again, I did some writing for Omni TV afterwards. And I also, I volunteered for Rogers Television, did some writing there because you write your own stories. But it wasn't that it didn't fulfill that creativity that I wanted because broadcast journalism and print journalism, they still very different types of writing, but it wasn't that which I wanted to do. Right. And so I worked in TV for a while. Actually, I had my own fitness show for a while, aired in South Africa. It was called The Art of Building Bodies. I don't advertise that often, but so it was about building strength because I noticed there were all shows about losing weight, but there were no programs about, people who wanted to actually put on size.
Well, let's see the guns. All right.
It's there.
It's still there.
It's still there. So I ended up getting together with Aida Memesevic, who actually volunteered at Rogers Television with me, and she has her own production company, and she took me on, and we had 2 years of a pretty good show. Yeah. Awesome. But the television industry changed quite a bit, during that time. And I just started pursuing some other passions, and one of them was beekeeping. So I learned how to keep bees. I love bees. I really adore them. And I just learned how to keep them, and I kept them at my partner's house. And one day they swarmed. They grew too large for their hive, for the hive I had them in. So they swarmed over to the neighbor's house. The neighbor freaked out, obviously, not knowing why they're swarming, not knowing that they'll be leaving a couple of hours later. They're just resting there, and then they'll, once they find their forever home, they'll leave. But she's like, "Oh, let's burn the branch, let's burn the bees." And I thought, wow, you know what? She didn't understand the importance of bees, what they actually do for us. And then it's almost like instantly the story came to mind about, how do I get the message out to adults? Like, who wants to read about a scientific book about bees? Right. And I thought, how do you get to adults? Through the children. So I thought, what, maybe that'll be my way in getting into creative writing, is writing about, children's books. So writing children's books where, the adult can get involved. So it's kind of a book where, because it is a short story, it's quite long, and a little advanced, so it may have to be read by an adult for children. Right. And I'm getting pretty good feedback by adults.
Excellent.
So yeah.
So this is for school-age children. So
7 to 11. Yeah.
Okay.
According to bookstores, that's where they have it aged, 7 to 11.
Okay.
Yeah.
But kind of intergenerational, because adults are reading this as well, right?
Yes, for their kids. But I find I had one adult saying, I was reading it and I was getting so into it. I really want to know what happened next. So they were trying to read ahead. So it's nice. It's nice that they find it interesting because
Okay.
Yeah,
so
important message.
This is what we're going to have to get to right now. I'm afraid of bees.
Okay.
So I need you to understand your fascination with bees, one, and then maybe you can talk about why they're so important for us.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think what I'm finding is when I'm hearing people, when I see them around insects, is they mistaken bees for wasps. Okay. So when you have, usually in the summertime, you have you're eating outside and you see...
They come around.
Those are wasps.
Okay.
Bees have no interest in your food.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah, so they're just looking for a flower to pollinate, and they're going back into finding their home. So they don't want to go near adults, humans. They don't care for humans. They don't care for your food. Okay. So I think that's the misconception is you see these wasps and wasps are aggressive. They can actually sting you over and over.
I've been stung.
By a wasp or a bee?
A wasp.
Yeah. And the thing is with the wasp, they, because of how their stinger is, they can sting you over and over. So they're jerks. They're the jerks of the insect world. Okay. And whereas bees, they don't want to sting. They would prefer not to, and because they actually die in the process of stinging. Really? Okay. Because how their stinger is made, it's actually barbed. So it's sort of barbed, and when it gets stuck in the skin, it pulls.
So when they sting, it's kind of like a last resort
to exactly.
protect themselves. Okay.
Exactly, or protect the queen. That's the main thing. Protect the colony. Yeah.
Okay. And then for the environment, bees help us in what way?
In pollination. Okay. So with certain fruits and vegetables and flowers, they need pollinators. So not always bees, maybe hummingbirds and butterflies. And what they do is they collect that pollen from that flower, whether it's the vegetable flower, fruit flower, or just a cutting flower, just just aesthetics flower, and they transfer that pollen over to the other species of that. So the female of that particular vegetable or flower. And that actually helps to grow the food.
To germinate?
To actually germinate the food, exactly. Okay. There are some plants out there that actually self-germinate, or they depend on wind, but in a majority of them do depend on pollinators.
Yeah. So we really need bees.
You need
take
bees.
Good care of them. Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, without bees, we actually can't exist, or pollinators in general. But yeah.
So this is a really amazing book that breaks it down in layman's terms for me.
Yes.
I learned a lot in just this short exchange about the importance of bees. So I'll have a lot more respect and maybe less fear of them when I see the next one in a few months. But this is beautifully illustrated. So who did the illustrations?
I found the illustrator through a college, actually. So she was Kizan. She was a graduate of, I believe it was Sheridan College. So I put an ad out. I contacted the school. They placed an ad, and I had illustrators come to me. I actually saw a lot of portfolios, a lot of really, really talented illustrators. It was so hard. It was like the hardest decision to try to figure out which illustrator.
How to choose. Yeah.
Oh boy, to choose the illustrator. But you know what? I just loved. She was the only one who came with something so different. Watercolor. We don't see much of that.
No.
And I just thought, so what I did is I had a couple of the illustrators interpret a part of the manuscript.
Right.
And she just did an amazing job. And I thought, yeah, she's the girl for the job.
Fernanda, I wanted to ask you about the characters. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, actually those characters. So I don't know if it speaks of my immaturity, but I still remember being a child and
childlike.
Yes, childlike. My sibling rivalry. So there's a lot of that in here. But the little Tia, so the characters are Tia, this little girl here. So that's Tia, Phil, and Vivian. Okay. And Tia is actually, I just wanted a character that sort of was a little, like a contrast to the brother and sister. They're twins. And it's like I have this girlfriend whose name is Val. She knows who she is. And I imagined her as a little girl. And this is exactly how she would be, very prim and proper. And she'd have a bow in her hair. This is her, like that's probably her right there. And I just thought, I wanted her to be a little flawed. She tries to be perfect, but she gets into the mischief. She gets, they get down and dirty. And it was just a fun way to just show that, it's okay to go outside and play. You can go out, you can explore, and these characters are really curious. And I just wanted to portray that in the story.
So she's kind of like the check and balance, right?
Exactly.
And then the twins are just personalities like? They go with the flow?
You know what? Phil is... It was difficult because I wanted to, he's actually he's a collection of many characters. Actually, both of them are. A collection of myself, my partner, and my brother, and my nephews.
Here, by the way.
My partner's here. He writes the poetry for the book, actually.
My partner.
He does, yes. And so it was actually just sort of a collection of a bunch of people I know, and of course, knowing myself as a child. Yeah, so he loves to eat a lot, let's just put it that way. All he thinks about is food. And then Vivian, she's a pro, let's save the world kind of girl.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does he like honey by any chance?
These two like the honey in this story. She not so much. Not the honey, the bees. But in the second book, they're all fearful of the insect because every book in the series touches on a different bug.
Okay.
So it talks about a different bug and its contribution to the ecosystem.
Excellent. So how many in the series?
So far, two.
Two. I love it.
Working on more.
Sounds like a great Green New Deal idea.
Thank you.
Yeah. Beautiful. And where can people purchase the book, Fernanda?
It's available online and on Amazon. It's also available, so pretty much anywhere English books are sold. So chapters, I believe a couple of the chapters actually have the physical copy. If not, they'll order it. And in the States, I don't know if this airs in the States, so Barnes & Noble. There's an organization that actually supports independent bookstores in the United States, and it's a great organization because the little mom and pop shops, they're making it big again. I think people really miss that touch.
Absolutely. I mean, small businesses are the backbone of every economy, so we need to support them. So I support this. This is beautifully done. Thank you so much for my copy. And where can people find you on social media, Fernanda? Social media. I'm not the biggest fan of social media. I actually just started it. So if you can find me, I believe it's at @TilsonBugger on Twitter, but that's the only social media I'm attempting to do right now. And I'm not even very good at it, but yes, that's where I am. That's okay.
Yeah.
I'll help you out.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Fernanda, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it, and congratulations again.
Thank you.
Fernanda Lazzaro. And go get your copy of The Swarm That Swarmed. We'll be back.
The Nikki Clarke Show, transforming lives one story at a time. If you would like to be a guest or become a part of our live studio audience or even to become a sponsor, just go to www.NikkiClarkeNetwork.com.